Hello, welcome in everybody. This is Green Dot Daily. We were just a couple of days from Christmas. Happy holidays to you and yours. Green Dot Daily, Action Network's daily sports betting show. Our show rolls on even during the holiday season. I'm your host, Brendan Glasheen. Be sure to join us every weekday. Noon Eastern is when we start our show, Green Dot Daily. We're streaming live in the Action Network app, and we are also live on Action Network HQ Twitter and YouTube. Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ACTION when signing up to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. We have football coming your way. We've got Week 16. It started last night. Zach Wilson, not great. Trevor Lawrence showed up when he had to. Jaguars got there. But Week 16, of course, we've got games tomorrow, games on Sunday. We've also got some thoughts on the college football slate heading into the weekend. But first, let's start the show in the association, NBA. One of the best days on the calendar in the NBA season, the Christmas Day schedule. Here is your slate of games. Sixers, Knicks, Lakers, Mavs, Bucks, Celtics, Grizzlies, Warriors, Suns, Nuggets. There are your lines. There are your spreads and totals. We welcome in Matt Moore, who covers the NBA for Action Network. You've got a couple of picks from the slate. Why don't you get us started? What's your first one?
Yeah, we've got a full slate here on Christmas, and obviously we've got everything that you need over at Action Network and the Action Network app. We've got a prop guide. It's like a gift guide with all sorts of props on it. We've got so much stuff. I've got a complete Christmas Day card, but we're going to give you the two best picks right here. And as it's the holiday season, Brendan Glasheen, I have a gift for you. I'm taking Celtics -4. So the Bucks are 6-13 against the spread as dogs under Mike Budenholzer in the regular season since 2019. They're 6-8 in those games against the spread with Giannis. This has been a dominant against the spread team, but when they're a dog, the books know that they should be dogs. They underperform as a dog in the spots where they actually wind up being so. Meanwhile, Jason Tatum is 5-1 against the spread versus the Bucks in the regular season when they're in Boston. So this is a big home court advantage. This is a great buy low spot on the Boston Celtics. So look, we've been saying for weeks that we think that the Boston Celtics are probably going to regress a little bit offensively. And they have, in the sense that they've fallen completely off of a cliff, plummeted into a ravine, and the offense has burst on fire. So that's how the offense has regressed, so to speak. But look, this is a buy low spot. And the bigger thing here is that even if Boston underperforms a little bit from its previous regular season performance and just isn't the complete train wreck it's been for the last 5 games, there's still going to be a better offense than the Milwaukee Bucks. So if we, kind of split this, if we do 4.5 points for home court, this gets us to basically Bucks pick them with a little bit of a juice towards them on the money line if this is in Milwaukee. And that's with a very, very generous and light home court advantage. The reality is that this kind of says that the Bucks would be favored at home and close to a pick 'em a little bit, even on a neutral court. That doesn't make any sense given what we've seen from these two teams this season. You say the Bucks are the best team in the league record-wise. Well, sure, but they've also faced a lot of home games versus weak opponents. Boston's overall power rating has to be higher than this. I'll take the Celtics -4.
This is their first meeting of the season, their first meeting since the Eastern Conference semifinals last spring. Celtics Bucks at 5:00 in the afternoon on Christmas Day. And what is your second pick, your second favorite of the 5 games?
Yeah, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm taking the Lakers +7.5. Oh, help me, Santa. Help me. Okay. This is based off of essentially the win profile if you look at the season for the Dallas Mavericks. Okay. This is a shocking kind of number that I don't think enough people are aware of. This season, the Dallas Mavericks are 12-9 versus teams over 500. That's great. They're beating teams over 5. They beat the good teams. They're 4-7 straight up versus teams under 500. That's crazy. They are 5-10-1 against the spread. 5-10-1 as a home favorite this season. And they're 0-4-1 against the spread versus teams under 500 3-10-1 ATS overall versus teams under 500 this season. That's 0-4-1 at home. This team, quite honestly, does not perform well versus the bad teams. We see this every year in the NBA, that there are just certain types of win profiles that teams have. And the profile for the Mavericks is that they can take down almost any team in the league behind Luka and what he's able to bring to the table. But they've lost to the Magic without Paolo Banchero, the Pistons without Cade Cunningham, the Wizards without Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, and the list goes on, including the Nuggets without Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. They do not take care of business, so to speak. So with LeBron on the other side on a Christmas Day game, with the fact that the Mavericks sometimes struggle with teams that can put pressure on you off the drive at the rim, and they do have guys that can do that, I'm going to go ahead and take the Lakers plus 7.5 versus the Mavericks on the road.
Feels like some of these NBA bet streams you've done this season have scarred you with the Mavs involved.
Entirely possible. It is hard to get over when you watch a team lose to the Wizards without Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis at home. It does leave a lasting memory.
Matt Moore, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thanks for stopping by Green Dot Daily.
Happy holidays, Brennan.
Okay, here we go. Shifting gears to college football. There are 2 games today on this Christmas Eve. Stuckey now joins us on Green Dot Daily. One game we're going to focus on, Stuck. We're going to go to Wake in Missouri. We had Mike Calabrese on earlier in the week, and you look at these 2 teams, right, all season, looking at their schedules. They played with some of the top competition in their respective conferences. See the Clemson game for Wake Forest, and then you got Missouri, who was neck and neck with Georgia early in the year. Now looking at this game on December 23rd, coming up later tonight, what's the angle for Wake and Mizzou?
Yeah, I like Wake Forest. Well, first of all, happy holidays to you.
You too, pal. Good to see you.
Everyone out there. Good to see you as well. And I like Wake Forest money line here. Shop around for the best price. A lot of times in these bowl games with short spreads, I prefer the money line when looking at a favorite because, look, at the end of the game, if it's Wake Forest scoring a touchdown to tie it or Missouri, no one wants to. It's a meaningless bowl. No one wants to go play overtime, right? So you might go for 2 at the end to try and win it instead of playing for overtime. So I do like the cheap money line for Wake Forest here. I don't think that the market's properly accounting for some of the losses that Missouri has in the opt-out and transfer department. They lost their best receiver, one of the most dynamic receivers in the country in Lovett, and that's really how you can attack this Wake Forest defense, whose run defense was really improved. And then more importantly, both of their star defensive ends who were just so critical to that Missouri defense, which was awesome all season, are both out here. I think that's enormous for Sam Hartman operating that offense and having time with his mesh point. So I'm going to trust Hartman here, the much better quarterback, to get it done. I think Wake also has a coaching edge. So give me Wake Forest on the cheap money line to get it done. Sam Hartman goes out with a W.
Minus 135 right now over at BetMGM. And this line is moving to the 2.5 is moving towards Wake. This was at 1.5 earlier in the week. Demon Deacons right now, according to the Action app, from the money line standpoint, the percentages, the bets are coming in on Wake, slightly more cash in on Mizzou. Should be a great game coming up later tonight. As a reminder, we've got the BBOC College Football Bowl Show now available over at Action Network's YouTube page. Stuckey's with Colin Wilson and Brett McMurphy. Bowl picks will be available throughout bowl season. It's also a reminder, Colin Wilson has a great write-up. All of our Action team is on this, but to Stuckey's point about transfers, NFL draft opt-outs, all of that is available. It's super important to get yourself ready for these bowl games, to Stuckey's point, to find out who's in, who's out, all of that good stuff. So Stuckey's on Wake. Let's shift gears now to the NFL. We welcome in Chris Raybon, who Stuckey will stay along board here as he normally does on our Friday show. So Stuckey and Raybon here to weigh in. They deliver the Sunday 6-pack over on the Action Network podcast as we normally do. We'll get a couple of those picks here on Green Dot Daily. Raybon, we'll go to you first. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. How about a winner on Christmas Day? What do you got?
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you as well, and everyone out there. Let's go. Let's start it off with the Green Bay Packers on Christmas Day in Miami. I think the Packers match up very well with Miami on both sides of the ball. When you look at the Packer offense, Miami's going to blitz a lot. They do play a lot of man coverage, and their pass defense is not very good. And this Green Bay offense is really starting to hit its stride with Christian Watson and all the receivers healthy. And they're number 2 in DVOA since week 10. Rodgers is also a top 4 quarterback against the blitz this year. So, and Christian Watson is number 2 in the league in yards per route against man coverage. So I think Green Bay can match up well here on offense. And then on the other side of the ball, you know, Tua really hasn't been the same guy over the last 4 weeks, just a 53% completion rate. And this Green Bay team, their scheme is kind of what's been giving Tua problems. You know, they play a lot of zone coverage. They're number 12 in DVOA to the middle of the field, and number 3 into the deep middle, more than 15 yards downfield in the middle. So they can take away some of the stuff that Tua was living on earlier in the year. So I like this how this Green Bay team matches up here on both sides. And Aaron Rodgers 11-4 against the spread in his career as an underdog under Matt LaFleur. Also, this has a 19 differential in terms of our luck rankings. Green Bay's been the 9th unluckiest team. Miami's been Green Bay's the 27th, and Miami's 9th, the 9th most lucky. And when you have a differential of 16 or more, those have hit at 62% against the spread since we began tracking in week 3. So I think some luck will kind of even out here for the Packers as well. So give me Green Bay in Miami.
Yeah, and those luck rankings brought to us by Sean Kerner, Nick Giffen. They do a great job, and they were on Green Bay earlier in the week as well. I would guess you want to get this now so you get that hook, get that half point as opposed to the 3. But this opened early in the week at 5.5. Chad Millman was on the 5.5. So folks here at Action have been on top of the Packers this week. Stuckey, how about yourself? Your first pick from the 6-pack.
Yeah, I was going to say I like it too until you said that Chad likes it. So now I might have to to jump off there. But I'm going to go with Washington +7 on the road here. Raybon and I talk about this in our podcast. Like Washington, Heineke, like them as an underdog, not as a favorite. And this San Francisco team, they've been rolling. But Kyle Shanahan, historically, not a great favorite at home. Plays a lot really conservative, right? He'll punt it on 4th and 1, settle for a field goal, which makes him difficult to back as a favorite. Plus, this total sitting at 37.5. Tough to build margin. Points at a premium, which makes that 7 even juicier. Washington's run defense been excellent all season, which is what you need here. And look, Brock Purdy's been great so far. He's benefited from a couple drop picks, couple beneficial calls, and it's only been 3 games. We still can't just say that there's no drop off. I'm not ready yet to crown Brock Purdy. He might prove me wrong, right? He might end up being the next Tom Brady, but I'll make him prove it here and win by margin. Look, San Francisco just clinched the division. We'll see if they can come out here, build margin, and win. I'll make them win by double digits, essentially, in a game with a total of 37.5 when I have a really good run defense against that San Francisco offense. So give me the pesky Commanders, who have been pretty good as an underdog this year. And I think it's the right time to buy them and then sell San Francisco.
Heineke's covered 6 of his last 9 as the starter. All the trends are on Heineke's side. Now, we didn't cover last week's game because they were favorites. And
the game before that when they were favored at New York, too.
Right. So I guess the follow-up would be, what's your confidence level? I guess your point is the total is so low that you don't have to have a huge expectation level for Heineke for the Commanders to cover in this game.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco's not giving up more than 17 to anybody, but that's fine. You get to 13 points here should be enough. This game could easily end 17-13. You also could get contribution from Chase Young, who might give it a go on Sunday. But no Deebo Samuel, Washington run defense is playing really well. And historically, San Francisco in this spot at home as a favorite just hasn't been great because Kyle Shanahan plays very conservative when he is the superior team, which makes it even more difficult to build margin. So, yeah, I don't need an all-world performance from the Washington offense here.
Raybon, back to you, and I have a feeling you might be turning back to those luck rankings once more.
Not exactly. I mean, in a sense, I'm going with the Giants here at Minnesota, and both teams have actually been lucky. But the market has started, as we saw last week, to underrate the Giants again, after they were overrated for about a month and a half. And you still can't buy this Vikings team. They've been outgained by 45 yards a game. The Giants match up extremely well with them in terms of the scheme. So the Giants, another team, they love to bring pressure. They blitz at the highest rate in the league, and they play the most man coverage. Well, Kirk Cousins is a bottom 4 quarterback against man coverage this year, bottom 4 against the blitz. And now the Giants are up to 4th in pressure rate. They're starting to get pressure with their front 4 because they got all those guys healthy, and Kayvon Thibodeau's playing really well. Vikings give up the 2nd most pressure. So the Giants have a lot of different ways to beat this Minnesota offense, which, by the way, is well outside the top 20 in DVOA. Is the Minnesota offense. The Giant offense is about 15th. So the Giants statistically have been the more efficient offense this year, which is ridiculous, hard to believe. But this Minnesota defense is not great. They don't get a lot of pressure, and they don't switch their scheme up a ton. They did a little bit against the Colts last week, but Daniel Jones and this offense have been solid pretty much across the board here. And Giants just know how to keep these close. They're very well coached, and their defense just knows how to get off the field, even though it's not a very talented defense. They're getting pressure, and they're getting off the field. Top 5 on 3rd down, top 5 in the red zone as well. So like the Giants here, Daniel Jones has played 13 games where he's a road underdog by under 8 points, and he's 12-1 against the spread. The Giants have won 6 out of 10 straight up outright as an underdog under Brian Daboll. And I think they get it done here again. So give me the G-Men.
G-Men are in a big spot. We know Minnesota's probably, they're doing just fine. I guess there's still a chance they can get the 1 seed, but the Giants are really in a situation they got to keep winning here to have a chance at the playoffs. And Stuckey, we'll go to your second pick.
Yeah, and Raybon, you forgot to mention the most important thing. I mean, Minnesota's what, a +2 net point differential on the year, so they're winning games by an average of 0.18. So there's a really good chance what happens again. Their last 10 wins have all come by 1 possession. Minnesota wins by 3. Is very much in play here. But I'm going to stay in the NFC East, and I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to lay the points here. This is kind of the intuition feel. Look, Jalen Hurts is obviously out.
Yep.
And he came in and looked okay last week, and I didn't think he was hurt. The Eagles rested a bunch of other, were resting people on Wednesday. I think the Eagles, in a way, are kind of booting this game. And this is the Dallas Super Bowl, right? Lost to Jacksonville last week. Get the Eagles, who they lost to early in the season. You're going to get everything that Dallas has. And I think the Eagles are saying, look, we're fine. We beat New Orleans next week at home. We get the 1 seed. And guess what? If we also beat New Orleans, that helps us because we get their draft pick. So I think the Eagles are just, hey, you don't get to see our offense and everything that we run because we might run into you in the playoffs. And this is Dallas's Super Bowl. So I think Dallas builds margin here, and the Eagles aren't going to show much. Also, you're going from Jalen Hurts to Gardner Minshew. Minshew's been pretty good when he's been in the game historically. But, last year he played the Jets, whose defense last year was awful. And he just doesn't bring the same rushing element that makes this Eagles offense so dynamic. But I think the Cowboys are going to jump out, build a lead, and the Eagles are just going to say, you know what, we're okay. We have bigger and better plans. So give me the Cowboys at home.
All of these factors have made the line movement fascinating to follow. Yep. Now it's -4 on BetMGM as opposed to the 6. There were 5.5s out there. And then, of course, it opened as Dallas being a short favorite until we found out about the Hurts news early in the week. And then it leads you to believe, too, to your point, Stuckey, there has to be some sort of I think at least, a preconceived thought by Nick Sirianni. All right, we'll give it a half. We'll see what it looks like, and then we'll pull guys. I think that's got to be. Is that a possibility, or is that a decision that's made? I think they're going to
try. And they've done this before. Chris, Raybon, you brought this up on the podcast, but what did Dallas win in that game?
56-26, I believe it was. The Eagles started their guys with Minshew.
Last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, no one had anything to play for, but Dallas played and the Eagles didn't. So, I think we could see that again, to be honest.
It's a very strategic staff, and they are all about making sure everyone's healthy, resting guys. And so, they're going to come out and try to win, I think, at first, but I don't think they're showing everything. And obviously they're not showing Hurts, and Hurts was killing the Dallas, Parsons and the Dallas DNs on the read option and using their aggressiveness against them. You're not going to get that with Gardner Minshew here. And it's a short week. He was going to Mike Leach's funeral, RIP to the GOAT, Mike Leach. And so, I mean, and they sat about 12 to 14 players for rest midweek. So, yeah, I'm going to go with my gut here and lay it with Dallas. And I just don't think that Philly's going to be all the way engaged. And, yeah, there's a good chance that you get some backups in there at some point.
Right. And the irony of last year's game was that the script was flipped. Dallas was still playing for something as far as a 1 seed, but Philly was already in. So Philly wasn't going to move at all. But in this case, the Eagles are still going for the 1 seed. And for Dallas, they're trying to bounce back and just get back on track here. So,
yeah.
Okay, as a reminder, the 6-pack from Stuckey and Raybon available, of course, in the Action Network podcast. If you tune in, they've been fantastic this year. The podcast is out and available, the Action Network podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. So be sure to check that out. It would not be a Friday on Green Dot Daily until we brought in the third member of this wonderful trio. That would be Darren Rovell. Darren will join us now. Before we find out if we're going to fade Rovell in Week 16, Darren, there's been lots of discussion about this Arctic blast coming through the National Football League. I found it interesting that the picks Stuckey and Raybon gave on the show today had nothing to do with those games, those low totals. Why don't you give us more on the market report?
Well, good afternoon, Brendan. Yes, it is cold out there.
Got it.
So, anytime I can make a corny joke, I do. Let me give you some real field temperatures, because after I put out that the Browns had $5 tickets, all of Cleveland descended on me to tell me that it is the second coldest game in Browns history. Bills at Bears, -14 is the real feel. Seahawks at Chiefs, -7. Saints at Browns, -12. Texans at Titans, 0. Falcons at Ravens, -1. And Raiders at Steelers, -2. That also makes sense when you look at the most bet unders. Bills Bears 40.5, Saints Browns 32.5. That is wild that it starts there. And Falcons Ravens 35.5. And then I'm going to give you the most bet teams. All of a sudden, the Lions are beloved, -2.5. Eagles +4. Which I agree with Raybon and Stuckey there that might be a little bit of a tough pick. Who knows if they're really going to play. And Bengals -3. That line to at least the public seems a little bit slim. So that's what I got for you.
That total for Saints Browns is the lowest total since 2012, 32.5 points. We even saw 31.5 early in the week.
Yeah, because even the Service Academy under this year was like 30 around there. So pretty crazy. But cold does not, wind is more important than cold, but cold is going to be difficult. I'd love to do a weather parlay, a bad weather parlay. I'm thinking about it. Under parlay, a bad weather under parlay.
Okay, well, we'll find out if the guys want to fade you on that idea. But as we normally do on Fridays, you give out a pick and you're going to focus NFL this week. And we'll find out if Raybon and Stuckey want to fade Rovell. So now that duo joins us again. Darren, why don't you give us the pick and we'll find out what these guys think.
Well, not only do I play the part of a square, I am a square myself. And so seeing that the Lions -2.5 was the biggest pick, had the most tickets, warmed my heart. The momentum that the Lions have right now is amazing. And I just love the Lions at 2.5 as a 2.5 point favorite. That is my pick this week. And, maybe Stuckey and Raybon will try to be like sharps, be like, it's too obvious. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Let's hear what they have to say.
Well, before we get to that, can we, and by the way, it here in Lexington this morning, it feels like -29. And look, I played football in the cold before. You could not get me out there to play. I would be like, nope, I'm not going out there. So cold.
When you ever get paid millions of dollars stuff?
Yes, but no, I'm just saying, like, you don't even, you're just not into it. It is coaches for everyone. Yeah, it's brutal. But how about last week? We had one condition on your pick. Let's talk trash on Twitter, which I tried to do when you took Dallas. Jacksonville wins outright, and I didn't hear from you. So
did you engage me or no?
I did.
Oh,
multiple
okay.
times.
All right, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry your timeline's so
I have
busy.
so many mentions. I have so many mentions that I couldn't see it.
Well,
anyway,
so many mentions, not a lot of wins here for Darren Rovell.
Good job.
I'm fading Darren, man, because listen, you talk about this cold weather. The one thing about Jared Goff, man, he does not play well in this kind of weather. And don't look now, but the Lions defense has been pretty good. They're coming on strong late. They've allowed well under 4 yards a carry to running backs since in the second half of the season. And that's what Carolina is going to do, is try to run the ball. So I think Detroit can win this game, but I don't trust them. And Carolina's at home here. I think Detroit's offense slows down a bit. So I think the smart play in this game is actually the under. It's one of the few games that it's still going to be below freezing, but you have a total, I think it's 43.5, 44. So it's one of the games that people aren't really looking at for an under because there's all these other games out there. But yeah, I don't think you could just assume that the Lions offense is going to keep rolling here because we have not seen that from Jared Goff historically.
Yeah, Jared Goff is a pumpkin outdoors. We know that. And I
actually do know that.
They got like a fluke 4th and 1 tight end screen to score. That's it. They didn't really do much. And so I was on the fence with teasing. Like I don't like +2.5. I don't want it, but I'm definitely going to tease Carolina now. Yeah, this is the push that I needed. But I will say that it would be so Lions to get this close to the playoffs and then lose to Sam Darnold to essentially end their season. I mean, they'll be like 15-20% to make the playoffs. But would there not be? Well, look, we will know if the roar has been restored if the Lions can take care of business in Carolina. As weird as that sounds, because this would be the ultimate Lions loss. Everyone believes in them. They go to New York, beat the Jets defense, and then they have to go and play the ghost of Sam Darnold, and they lose that game. I can't think of anything more Lions.
Raybon, when you bring up respect, like you brought up the respect earlier or the lack thereof for the Giants, and that's sort of come back now, or maybe actually taking the 4 points, you think that the market hasn't caught up. Is the market correct, the 2.5 on the Lions?
I think it's a decent line. It's not terrible, but what you I think should note is that the Lions have been rolling, right? You know, they've had some impressive wins, but and they're playing a team in the Panthers, which everyone obviously thinks the Lions are better than because they're favored on the road, right? But yet the books aren't giving you the 3 here. They're giving you the 2.5. They're kind of begging you to take Lions to win by a field goal. So, you know, I would, you know, just think about that a little bit too. The Panthers right now are probably playing better than the Jets. I know they lost to Pittsburgh, but this Panther team is probably also underrated in the market, I will say. It's just that, you know, they have to be able to run the ball. So if the Lions run defense can show up, then, you know, maybe Rovell ends up winning his bet. But it's not an easy out. The Panthers are not an easy out either. So, and they're not giving you the 3. So take that for what you will.
I'm willing to take the Lions up to -6.5.
Oh, there it is. The alternate line. It's funny. Darren, we had our pre-production meeting this morning. I said, well, is Darren's pick going to be an alternate line or just the
I love the alt lines.
Yeah,
alternate L's. Still,
I would say that, like, I personally make the line like 2.6 around there. So, like, I think it's a pretty good line, and I think that if it gets to 3, you would have sharp money come in and scoop up Carolina right away. So, like, if it gets there, I would think about Carolina 2.5. I have no real opinion, but I will tease Carolina now. Look, lower scoring game too. If you get to that 3, it's even more important. I think the under is taking some money, and like Raybon said, he likes the under. But like, I can't think of anything more Lions. And now that Darren's on it, like, it's just leading me to believe that the Lions are definitely losing now.
They're a punt return and
they're going to tie
coverage away. They're a punt return and a blown coverage away from scoring 6 points last week. Just think about that.
I'm going to call it. They're going to tie. That's
if my aunt had, she'd be my uncle. Okay,
21,
let's not
21.
talk about hypotheticals.
Yeah, 21-21 in overtime tie.
Okay, so can we agree that if things, no matter how it goes, handshake Zoom agreement, that there will be some accountability on Twitter after this, Darren?
Yes.
and not
I
make an
will
excuse
also
about the
say
mentions?
that it's not profit. At least over the last week, it has not been profitable to fade me. And you can check out my picks on the Action Network. Please follow me.
Okay.
Yep. I'll be
Yeah,
there.
follow Darren. Don't follow me though.
Raybon, we've been pumping your tires all year. Okay, enough.
I've even retweeted that you're
I'm
crushing
kidding,
it.
I'm
I'm happy
kidding.
for you and us.
Love you guys.
Stuckey, Chris Raybon, find their work over at the Action Network podcast. They've got the Sunday six pack, the rest of their picks. They give out 2 each on the show. Darren Rovell, as he mentioned, you can find him in the app. He does a great job with the market report. Gentlemen, Merry Christmas. Thanks for stopping by Green Dot Daily as usual.
Happy holidays.
All right. And as a reminder, we talked about the Sunday six pack, but you can also find all of the picks from the show, previous shows, speaking specifically to futures, over at Green Dot Daily. We have an account dedicated to the show in the Action Network app. You will never miss a pick. So, want to get some housekeeping done here, folks. As far as this show is concerned, Green Dot Daily, we're going dark Monday and Tuesday. No Green Dot Daily Monday and Tuesday. So we return next Wednesday for our next show. So be on the lookout for that. But we do have plenty coming your way with Convince Me. That's coming your way on Saturday to get you set for the NFL. So that is coming your way. We've also got another edition of BBOC on Tuesday. So we'll be on the lookout for all of our coverage. But just this show, Green Dot Daily, we're returning next Wednesday. So we greatly appreciate those of you that make us appointment viewing and keeping us on your daily calendar, noon Eastern, every weekday. On the behalf of our entire crew, behind the scenes, our guest today, Brendan Glasheen. As a reminder, Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ACTION when signing up to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. You all have a great Christmas, a great holiday season. Have a great weekend. Get some green dots, and we'll talk to you all next week. See you later.